Hello and welcome to the Small Business Cheerleader podcast. I'm here today with Kristy from the Business Oasis, and we're going to be talking about all things accounts and why it's really important to be on top of your figures. Hi Kristy, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you, Nicola. How are you?
I'm good. You're coming to us all the way from Tassie. And we've worked together, for the past year on coaching ourselves. So we know all about what it takes to try and get your figures in order. So I thought we'd bring all of your knowledge in bookkeeping to the Small Business Cheerleader tribe. Now, the first thing we were going to talk about is why it's important to have your figures up to date. Now, tell me, why is it important for small businesses to have their figures up to date, and what is it that they possibly could be missing out on if they're not?
Yeah, so there's a few different things that come with not being up to date with your numbers. We particularly saw them last year in that delightful 2020 that none of us will ever forget, particularly small business owners, where some people just straight up missed out on government funding and support because they didn't have their financials up to date. They were either too behind with BAS lodgements or tax, they hadn't registered the right things, and the government just put out a hard no on anyone catching up, or you had to go through additional undue stress to get caught up and get everything lodged and up to date during a time which, you know, we all had plenty of other things to focus on. So when things like that occur, it's a really good time to realise the importance of having your numbers up to date. We also find that, you know, it's really hard to make strategic decisions to work out if your business is going well, if it's not. Sometimes we're living on the smell of an oily rag when we could actually be doing quite well, but we don't have our figures up to date. So we don't allow ourselves to touch the cash in the bank because we don't know how long it has to last for or where it's got to go. So if you have your numbers up to date, you can see clearly that you need this much money to go out this week, and these are the income expectations for the week, and really plan things out better and actually be empowered around running your business.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's putting the power back in your hands, isn't it, in making the decisions that are right for your business. Because a lot of people, they have an account and they just have all their money go in and out of that one account. And what can happen is, you're right, they see the money in there, but they don't want to touch it in case they need it, or God forbid, the other way around, where they just spend it. And then along comes GST time, along comes tax time, or a big expense, and there's nothing there. So what would you recommend for people in regards to making sure they've got enough for expenses and enough for rainy day? Is there a way that they can make sure that they're not just, like you say, on an oily rag, or just wishing and hoping along the financial year?
Yeah, so the good thing about using an online accounting software solution like Xero, MYOB or QuickBooks is that you can connect it to your bank account, so you have an accurate statement, so you don't have to log into the bank every time you want to see where things are at, so you can visualize it there. And if you're using that for your invoicing system or have it integrated, I know that there's quite a few different softwares for tradies that are really great to know what your billing looks like. But if you don't have it synced up to your bank through Xero or something, it's really tricky to know where you're up to with things. So having your information there, because then you can run some simple reports to see how much money you've made this month, how much you've spent, and get an estimate of what your GST looks like. There's a few different money management philosophies out there too. There's Profit First with the beautiful Mike McAllowitz, who there's some great online tools as well as some Profit First advisors out there who can help you work out how much to put in your various buckets. But at least having a couple of different bank accounts, keeping your personal expenses completely separate from your business account, because it just gets really tricky otherwise. And you spend a lot of time bookkeeping your personal stuff, and it's, you know, we've all got better things to do than reconciling more transactions than we need. And having a separate savings account for your business so that you can put aside, even if you work out 10% of every invoice payment that comes in, you put that aside into your savings account, and then you're building up a bit of a buffer, and you should be able to then cover any tax obligation. You've got money towards your pay-as-you-go obligations, superannuation. It's better to get it paid on time than deal with penalties from the ATO. So yeah, there's a couple of simple strategies with those couple of separate bank accounts, or going all into a system like Profit First.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, Profit First is something that I use at NW Marketing, and it changed the game for me in being able to see where I am at any given time. And in regards to putting aside money, as you say, saving for the business, trying to get to a limit of making sure that I have 3 months of operational expenses covered in that account.
Yeah.
So that should things like COVID or any loss of any huge clients, that I'm able to continue to hit my obligations for 3 months at least while I sort that issue out. That's been a big one, to make sure the business is secure. And then the other one is making sure the tax is set aside, and as you say, super and everything, so that I don't have to worry, and whatever's left in my what I call my OPEX account, my operational account, is money that is available for bills and for use if I need to. I don't have to worry that I'm going to use money that's not for the business use. So yeah, absolutely. And then that's the one thing I think that people forget, that yeah, you can use Xero and you can reconcile your own accounts, but sometimes it's nice to have someone who's really a professional in what they do and able to give you insight into how you can use your accounts better. So what are the benefits of using a bookkeeper as opposed to just using the software and doing the reconciling and the things yourself? What do you get out of having a bookkeeper like the Business Oasis in regards to your bookkeeping and your finances?
So one of the great things about having a bookkeeper is that you can spend time doing the things that you're great at or that you enjoy doing, rather than, let's face it, bookkeeping isn't the most exciting task in the world in itself, but what we love delivering at the Business Oasis is that outcome for our clients by giving them up-to-date financials and helping them interpret and understand them. So by having a professional looking after that element of your business, you can have the confidence that when you're looking at your reports or you're talking to your bookkeeper and BAS agent about what's next, what's coming up next month, are you planning on having 4 weeks off over Christmas? You've actually got the ability to plan for it with your cash flow and managing your expenses. So it really helps you make those strategic decisions. And, we sort of keep watch for those things that might be causing roadblocks for you ahead. We tend to see them earlier than our clients because we're looking at over 30 people's businesses every week to see what's happening, what's trending. So we're across a lot of different things, and we can apply that information and resources into all of our clients. So it's a really great resource and tool. I couldn't just rock up and build a house. I would need to hire a professional for that. And, I would like to think that as businesses are growing and getting to a certain point, that they're ready to hand over the bookkeeping side of things to a professional. I've been doing this for nearly 10 years. I've been a small business owner myself for nearly 4 years. So I know what it's like. It's not about, just us making money. It's about delivering successful outcomes to other small business owners so they can spend their time doing the things they love with the people they love.
Yeah,
make a smart decision.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because I think the more you're involved in your business, and especially if you're trying to do your bookkeeping as well, it becomes that thing that you do last, and it becomes that thing you put off. And I've seen a lot of business owners stressing before BAS is due because they haven't done the work. And as you know, small steps every day make things easier, but business owners are busy trying to run their business. So when they get to doing their bookkeeping, it's always the last thing. And then they panic and they stress, and that's the last thing you need. So the hours that you save by having a bookkeeper, those hours you can put back into creating more business or servicing your clients better. And then your business will grow naturally that way. And I think that's what people forget. They trade dollars for hours. They think by doing them themselves, they're saving money, but really you're trading dollars for hours, and you're never going to get that back. You're much better. Your hourly rate needs to be put towards making money and not doing tasks that you can outsource. And I think that's what people need to realize, especially trades business owners, when they're so busy on the job. It becomes either their partner's job to do the books, or it becomes a task that's done at night or on the weekend, and that should be time for family. So I think that notion of trying to save money by doing it needs to be taken out of the equation, because when you look deeper into it, it never works. So I agree. And having someone in your corner looking over your finances for you too, when it comes to payroll, when it comes to things that you might not be on top of. Your bookkeeper seems to always be on top of legislation, on top of changes in awards, all of the things that that's where small business owners, I think, tend to get in trouble, because they don't keep on top of those things. Do you find that that's you've seen that in the industry as well?
Yeah, very much so. It's, things change overnight, and we definitely saw that in JobKeeper legislation, where it would literally change overnight. 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, legislation would be changed. A lot of people got caught out by not being up to date. I didn't love being up to date with all that legislation reading, but it is part of the service that we deliver. So, it is what we do. We're signed up to all of the Fair Work award alerts, so that anytime there's a change, we know about it straight away. And we use various calculators and software to make sure we manage that for our clients, as well as, the responsibility still lies on them a lot because of this litigious world that we live in. But we certainly provide as much support as possible and encourage our clients to register with industry bodies as well, who we work closely with. And we understand a lot of that technical lingo of, like IFAs, individual flexibility agreement. We can talk to our clients about speaking with Master Builders Association or HIA about maybe this is something to look into, because we've dealt with it with other clients. So it's that experience. And owning a small business can be really lonely. You don't tend to have a business partner, or it could be your loved one who is your partner in your business. And sometimes it's difficult to have those conversations and be really raw and open, whereas it's very personal, seeing people's bank accounts and knowing what's going on, and being that source of support for our clients is really valuable and important. And you can get that when you hire the right person.
Yeah, that's right. And it does come down to making sure that you've got someone you trust, got someone that you can have those conversations with yourself. And it also can save a lot of marriages, because I know that there's a lot of wives that get stuck with the bookkeeping, and it's not their zone of genius either. They're just helping out. And I think that's where, a lot of tradies have to realize that it's not an easy job. It's actually a job that requires skills. And that's where I think bookkeepers are a lifesaver. I know bookkeepers in my business made all the difference, from doing them myself and then also getting it done in-house to then having it out of the business and able to be looked at from fresh eyes, made that a lot easier to get on top of. And printing out the right reports, knowing what reports to look at, and being told, where the net profit was and gross profit was, and knowing, how much to spend on marketing, and being, sort of told how they all work, so that you've got your real revenue, which is what you should be working on. And then you've got your top line revenue, of course, which is your vanity measure. A lot of people will bandy that amount around, as you know, but it doesn't mean anything, because your bookkeeper will know exactly what your net profit is. So you need to know all of those figures, because if you don't make money and you're not making profit, then your business is not sustainable. And people see all this money in their bank account, but if they're not making a good net profit for their industry, then that's when it's going to become majorly a huge drama later on, when some big bill comes in or something happens, and you don't have that cash is king, as you know, isn't it? And people just don't realize that. They see this top line revenue and think they're doing well, but that's where people can help you really dive down and find out if you actually are doing well.
And it can be as simple as knowing in your reports the difference between accounting methods of cash versus accrual. So accrual is the default setting of your financial reports in Xero and MYOB. That's based on the invoices you've entered in and the bills you've entered in, not cash in, cash out. So it can give you a bit of a false reading. If you've got, 100 grand owing from customers, your system's showing as if you've already received it. So knowing how to just quickly modify your report, so you're looking at the correct way that you report to the tax office, and you're looking at apples versus apples as opposed to apples and oranges. It's it's one of those, just little tricky things to navigate your way through. And I know that someone within our coaching group has implemented similar to Profit First, and having those buckets of money, set aside, and he, with a new bookkeeper, found that they'd grossly underreported some payroll liabilities. And instead of going into debt, he knew that it really sucked to find that out, but he had that money put aside in a bank account ready to go because he was strategically managing his business and finances with the right team around him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because I know that happened to me about 4 years back when the accountant was just doing the BAS off what was happening, not off what the forecast would be. So what had happened with me was that all of a sudden I had a tax bill of $25,000 because I'd earned more than the previous year. Whereas the bookkeeper accountant at that stage was making it off last year.
Yeah.
And then not doing those, down the track, what are you looking at the end of financial year? And then because I wasn't on top of my books at that stage, he was running it for me. Bang, here's a $25,000 tax bill, which then had to be paid off over 12 months on top of the next round. So this is things that get on when you own your own business. Of course, your income is going to go up and down. Well, most places. If you're not on top, if you all of a sudden get 2 new clients and you're making a lot more than you were the year before, remember that a lot of your pay-as-you-go is going to be based on the 12 months prior. And you need to make sure that you're actually putting aside the portion of what income is coming in so that you're not going to be kept out. And that's where Profit First is good, because it takes 10 to 15% of your actual income and puts it aside. So if you are making more, you're always going to be putting that aside. You're not just basing it off the last year's pay-as-you-go, which can get you in trouble. And that's been a huge learning curve for me. I mean, that was years ago, but
yeah, and I've also found too that if, one of those things, we go back to that early part of the discussion about the importance of having your books up to date. If your accounting information isn't up to date, you're going to be late lodging your tax, and then your accountant is not going to be able to get those installments current quickly enough. So, it's all of those things that fall together. So by having a great bookkeeping system and bookkeeper on your team, they can work alongside your accountant as well, and as a sort of core advisory group, help you make sure that you're thinking ahead as well as ensuring that today is covered.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's what happened to me. I was doing my bookkeeping and then sending all the stuff to the accountant. The accountant was then just doing the BAS. And then all of a sudden, no bookkeeper was looking, going, hey, you probably should, and that's what happens. So that's why I always recommend putting at least 10 to 15% aside of each revenue that comes in. And then we do ours weekly. You can do them fortnightly, monthly, but we like to be across our figures every week. And then we also set income goals that we want to hit. And then that's why going through Xero, which we have once a week, we can see, are we really hitting those income goals? Because we do cash reporting and we can really see what bills are coming in. It's just that the dashboard of Xero is great for small business to just look at. So I think it's important that people really understand the value of a bookkeeper. And that's why I wanted to get you on today, because I know the value of it. And obviously you deal with the small businesses and the challenges that they have. So I know you see the benefits that come from that. So I want to make sure they do as well. Now, where can people find out more about the Business Oasis? I know you've just rebranded, so there's a whole lot of new, because you're doing bookkeeping as well as financial advisory for small businesses to get them, you're the oasis where they feel supported and they can come to for advice. So where do we get people to find you if they want to know more about the Business Oasis or just bookkeeping in general?
Yeah, so our new web domain is live, so www.businessoasis.com.au. And you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where we keep you up to date with interesting information, fun little facts, little polls, and sort of drive that engagement to keep it interesting.
Awesome. Exactly. And I find you do the weekly digests and you have lots of stuff when things change and people can keep up to date. And you can also see pictures of your dogs and your dog, which I can see the bed behind you. The dog's not there. As you know, I've got my 2 dog beds behind me with dogs in them. So, we need an Instagram account with dogs in it, because that's just the way Instagram is these days.
So funny.
But it's been awesome chatting to you, because I really, we're both on the same page when it comes to making sure small business owners, especially tradies, because we both work with a lot of tradies, knowing that they're looked after and that they have that support that they need. Me with the marketing, you with the bookkeeping, because those two things, I think, are left to tradies to deal with themselves, and the overwhelm is real when it comes to that. And like I said, oh, there's a dog. And like I said, a lot of them ends up coming down to a partner or somebody, and it causes a lot of stress. So please check out Kristy's stuff online if you want to know about small business bookkeeping and everything that you can do for your business. She works, obviously she's a virtual bookkeeper, so she can work with anyone, anywhere. And that's the good thing about bookkeepers these days as well. You don't have to go and see them. You don't have to go and, you know, drive for hours. You can, it's a virtual Zoom meeting, and you're done. And
we make it nice and easy, nice and streamlined.
Yeah.
Save you time.
Yeah.
Get you doing the things you want to be doing.
And the same with marketing. I can work all over Australia now because of Zoom and online. So it's made everything so much easier. And any times usually work these days, people can squeeze in half an hour there on their phone. Even if the tradies, I find a lot of them are in between jobs, or they're, you know, just quickly on the car, just talking on the phone. You know, it's just something that's easy for guys to do these days. Awesome. Well, it's been great talking, and thanks for all your advice, and we'll see you over at the new Business Oasis website.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, see ya.